The Vatican insists that Pope Francis is stable, feverless, and continuing with prescribed therapy. However, the change in the tone of official communication and the latest leaked details about his state of health paint a much less optimistic picture than they would have you believe. What began as chronic bronchitis has evolved into a polymicrobial infection in the airways, with changes in therapy and hospitalization forced by the complexity of the clinical picture. The Vatican has not talked about an ongoing recovery, only that the Pope remains in treatment. But the most striking thing is the absence of fever. When fever isn't a good sign. In a young person, fever is a nuisance. In an elderly person with a serious infection, it's a sign that their immune system is still struggling. Fever is a natural response of the body to an infection, and that Pope Francis does not have a fever in this context is not a cause for tranquility but for concern. There are two reasons why this could be happening. Your immune system is too weak to generate a fever, something that can happen in the elderly with advanced infections or in people who have been with corticosteroids for a long time. The infection is so severe that the body is no longer reacting to it, which can be a sign of respiratory failure or even an initial phase of sepsis. If treatment were working well, the fever would be expected to gradually subside. But the Vatican isn't saying the Pope is improving, just that his status is stationary, a word that can mean many things but hardly a clear recovery. Lack of transparency in communications. The Vatican has ambiguously handled all information about the Pope's health. There has been talk of optimism, and that it is doing some work and readings, but at the same time it recognized that these perceptions are complex and that it has been necessary to modify these. His good cheer is insisted on, but key aspects such as his level of oxygenation, whether he needs respiratory assistance or if there is confirmed lung involvement are not reported. If the Pope were evolving well, it would be easy to say. But the fact that they continue to use vague and evasive language suggests that their state is more delicate than they want to admit. Pope Francis, currently 88 years old, has been hospitalized with pneumonia in the lungs. While his condition seems to be stable, concerns about his health have intensified. Who will be the next Pope, and what will happen next? The world watches with bated breath as Pope Francis enters the twilight of his pontificate. Will his probable passing usher in a turbulent period of uncertainty for the Catholic Church, or will he resign similarly to his predecessor, Pope Benedict XVI, once he regains some health? While the timing of his departure remains uncertain, the question of the next Pope looms large. The election of a successor will be a momentous occasion, akin to a seismic shift in the Church's trajectory. The very process, a conclave of cardinals, shrouded in secrecy and tradition, will be a potent symbol of the Church's unchanging nature, its enduring faith in the sanctity of the papacy. But the path forward will be fraught with challenges, not least the need to navigate a Church grappling with the shifting sands of contemporary society. Many questions will arise as the Church stands at the precipice of change. Will the next Pope be able to rally the faithful against a tide of progressivism that threatens to erode the Church's moral fabric? Will he be able to reignite the flame of traditional values that have been flickering in recent decades? Who will sit on the throne of the chair of Peter? Here, presented in this graph, we can identify 22 papabili cardinals, and among them, 5 particularly leading ones. If we were to imagine distributing these cardinals in a manner, placing those most favorable to the preservation of Catholic tradition on the right and the most radical neo-modernists on the left, we would obtain an image like this. In red, I have highlighted the cardinals who are the most friends of tradition. On the left side, we find the more progressive wing of the papabile cardinals. In the cobalt-colored segment, we find 3 cardinals who could be defined as moderates, very discreet in their assertions, but who are very likely sympathetic to Pope Francis's way of governance. But, among these cardinals, stands out Cardinal Felipe Neri Ferro, from India. Though not mentioned in the image, he has been gaining substantial popularity lately due to his commitment to interfaith dialogue, which we shall touch on in a few moments. The prospect of a new pope arises with the clear understanding that a new leader must embody the true essence of the Church. Several names are being whispered in the corridors of power, each with their own unique blend of experience and conviction. However, will one of these 5 cardinals be the next pope? First on the list, Cardinal Felipe Neri Ferro. As a leader within the Church of India, Cardinal Ferro's approach includes embracing modern challenges and adapting the Church's mission to contemporary issues. However, His leadership in India reflects a blend of inter-religious dialogue and progressivist ideas. Second, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, the Archbishop of Manila. Cardinal Tagle's outspoken commitment to the poor and marginalized resonates with a growing segment of the faithful. He's a vocal defender of the Church's social teaching, a stance that appeals to many in the contemporary world. However, his progressive views on certain social issues have raised concerns among traditionalists. While his papability cannot be ruled out, his alignment with progressive ideologies may not resonate with those who seek a return to traditional values. Third on the list, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa has been praised for his leadership as the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. His papability is rooted in his diplomatic skills and his ability to navigate the complex political landscape of the Middle East. His relatively low profile compared to other cardinals may spring a surprise among the faithful if elected. Fourth, Cardinal Robert Sarah is another prominent figure who has gained attention for his conservative stance on liturgical matters and his advocacy for a return to traditional practices. Cardinal Sarah has been vocal about his opposition to progressive ideologies. His conservative stance on issues such as same-sex marriage and contraception aligns him with traditionalist values. His book, God or Nothing, has been praised for its clarity and depth, making him a strong contender for the papacy. And finally, the fifth, Cardinal Malcolm Ranjith is another name that has been mentioned in discussions about the next pope. As the Archbishop of Colombo, Sri Lanka, he has been a strong advocate for traditional liturgical practices and has spoken out against progressive reforms. His papability is bolstered by his unwavering commitment to the Church's teachings and his ability to lead with both compassion and firmness. The selection of the next pope will be a defining moment for the Church. Will it be a figure who strengthens the bonds of tradition, a beacon of hope for those yearning for a return to faith's core values, or will it succumb to the siren song of progressivism? The world holds its breath, waiting to see what path the Church chooses. In conclusion, the succession of Pope Francis will be a pivotal moment for the Catholic Church. The conclave and the election of a new pope will be guided by the traditions and teachings of the Church, ensuring that the next pontiff is someone who can lead with wisdom, faith, and a commitment to the timeless values of Catholicism. Traditionalists and conservatives will be watching closely, hoping for a leader who can steer the Church away from progressive ideologies and back to its roots, paving the path to the reign of Christ on earth.